everybody, the Lawn Gnome is here.
What? You telling me you weren't feeling it? You were in it.
Today I'm here to talk about a film that, just by happenstance, I caught the trailer for it on YouTube just a couple of months ago, and after I saw the trailer, I started hearing a massive buzz about this little indie movie that actually made some waves when it premiered at TIFF in 2019. And that, of course, is Sound of Metal, starring Riz Ahmed, Olivia Cooke, and Paul Raci. So, part of me was excited to see this movie because of the subject nature. Another portion of me was very interested in seeing this movie because of the cast. Because Riz Ahmed I remembered from Star Wars Rogue One, as well as Olivia Cooke, who I had seen in movies like Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, as well as Ready Player One. So to see these two young actors in a movie that definitely looked like it was going to be something interesting and, more importantly, different and special, I was definitely excited to see this movie. This is the story about a heavy metal duo named Ruben and Lou, and one night, just completely by something, we don't know what exactly happened, we don't know how it officially got triggered, but Ruben suddenly starts to not hear anything, and he immediately goes to a specialist who tells him that his hearing is deteriorating rapidly, and he has a couple of options. One of them is to drop $80,000 for the sake of making implants put into his ear so he can hear better, and the other option is to just accept the fact that he is now officially going deaf and find a way to change his life. Through a couple of phone calls, Lou finds a place for Ruben to go, which is run by a man who lost his hearing due to his experience in Vietnam. It's a community for deaf people where deaf people can just learn how to cope with their disabilities, whether they've had it since they were younger or lost it at a little bit of an older age, and just find their place and just be happy. Ruben has a lot of hesitations because he doesn't want to give up his dream of playing music, and he doesn't want to give up his relationship with Lou, but they both agree that at the end this is the best thing for him. So Ruben goes, Ruben struggles, but then through time he actually grows as a person, even though something that we pretty much all take for granted is no longer with him. At the end, after I saw this movie, I have to say I was a little bit disappointed because of the fact that I really had high hopes for this film, and I really thought it was going to be something truly grand, possibly one of my top 5 films of the year. Well, the part that makes it even worse was it was going in that direction, especially in the first 2 acts. The whole ordeal of watching Ruben struggle and just seeing how he feels outside and inside, knowing that he can't hear anymore, is definitely something that we as a species don't really think about until, unfortunately, we could possibly not have one of these things that were just given as a natural gift, especially in the time of COVID-19, where some people have had symptoms of losing their senses of smell and taste. The fact that people cannot enjoy the smells and tastes of food and just fresh air, it's just something that people see themselves just breaking because they cannot believe, especially if you're a good person and this horrible thing happens to you, how do you go on living? So to see Ruben cope with something like losing his hearing is definitely an important thing to see, because every single one of us could go to sleep hearing just fine, but the next day we could wake up and not even hear a sound, and that is something that can scare us from time to time. So then we get into the second act where he joins the deaf community, and he does everything from communicating with people his own age to even learning sign language with a bunch of young deaf kids, and just the relationships that he builds and the things that he learns about himself are just beautiful to watch, and he even becomes a different person as we see him going through this transformation. But then the third act comes, and it basically is where he decides that he has the ability to get the money, and he gets the implants, and it's basically, at least for me, like everything that he has learned, all the growth that he had, he literally just threw it all out the window because of the fact that he just couldn't live without the ability to hear, even though he was starting to learn how to live without it. And the scene where he is thrown out of the deaf community just because of the fact that he is looked at as a selfish person, it was just an upsetting twist. I mean, maybe that was the goal of this film, to show that even though people do grow when they deal with a serious situation, there still is the concept of human nature where you still don't care and you still are only thinking about yourself and you just want things to go back to the way they were. Sure, I get that, and I appreciate the fact that that's the director's vision, but the story itself, after the implants are gotten by Ruben, I just didn't care for the story anymore. Him going back to see Lou, and them living in Paris, and then the end of the movie, it's a very sweet and emotional ending, but for me, it was just too little too late. I just really did not appreciate that third act. I just think that everything that the movie was trying to accomplish, for me only, if you feel that you learned something different from it, God bless you, but I just was not appreciative of how the movie decided to go with its final act. And it's really upsetting to me because this film was very unique. It was definitely a movie in regards to its subject matter that should be shown in films, and to a certain degree, I was kind of hoping that this was going to be one of the better movies, because a movie like this getting nominated for Best Picture would be a wonderful thing to see, especially considering the fact that there are people that are born with disabilities, but also learning about how people who never had a disability cope with developing one is even more important. I mean, both sides of the coin are important, but the fact that this movie was made and shown to us was a very good accomplishment, and I'm glad that it was made, but it's not a movie that I want to see again. It's not a movie that I want to own on DVD, just because of the fact that it lost me, and it really upset me. But I would still say that if this movie is still of interest to you, maybe you'll see something different than I did. Maybe you will love it, and I hope that you do. I just wish that I did too. Which is why I'm going to be giving Sound of Metal 2.5 stars out of 4. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Please leave your comments in the box below, and let's discuss Sound of Metal, and I will see you in the next one. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. If you're new here and want to see more of what my channel has to offer, please click on the link to my last video, or hit that subscribe button to be kept up to date with all of my uploads. Content of all sorts is posted here quite often, so trust me, you do not want to fall behind. I will see you in the comments, and actions speak louder than words.